Everyone, and welcome to Tomi Codes. And today we are going to be learning a couple of stuff in Flutter. This is our first live class in our Flutter learning. We'll be learning the basics of Flutter, and this is totally newbie friendly. If you are just getting started with Flutter, this is a great tutorial for you. Okay, this is Flutter, and if you're just seeing Flutter for the first time, Flutter is an open source framework for building mobile apps. And it's not only mobile apps, it allows you to build cross-platform um, apps as well. So that means you could build for your mobile, you can build for your web, desktop, embedded devices, even all from a single code base. It's very impressive. And once you understand this, Flutter is going to be very easy for you. To build all this stuff is going to be easy. Let's try to run Flutter in our browser to see an overview of what we are expecting in Flutter. So when you are writing Flutter apps, your code might look like this, and we are running the default counter app here, which what it does is that it allows you to just click on the button and it's going to increment this value. Simple. And spinning Flutter, let's try that. We're going to run that as well. Okay, so let's click. And it's spinning. Yay! It's going to spin. Now let's try the third one. Perhaps this one is going to make you finally want to do Flutter. And we are going to run that. So it returns a Fibonacci list, see, and the list keep growing, blah, blah, blah. That's good. Okay. One of the things about Flutter is that it allows flash development. So if you've come from Xamarin or React Native or the native Android or iOS, you'll see that you don't have this feature where you can change something and it's going to do a hot reload. So Flutter has something they call hot reload, which allows you to see things as you make changes in your app, basically. It allows you to see things as you make changes, which is great. And the way Flutter is set up, you can easily create beautiful UIs. Yes, you can easily create beautiful UIs. And yeah, you can have native performances and a lot of that. So I hope that I have been able to convince you that Flutter is the right way to go. Okay, let's go. Now, let's say you want to get started in Flutter, and you can easily hit on this Get Started button, and it's going to bring you to a page here where it shows you that you can install Flutter on whatever machine you are using. So let's say you're using Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and Chrome OS. It has the instructions for you to do that. By the way, if you have any comments and you'd like to drop, you can easily use the chat sections, and I'm going to see the comments, and people as well will see that as well. I am, I think I am as loud as I can be. Let me check the settings over here. If you can't hear me, can you at least hear this music at the background? Should be able to hear this. Okay, so looks like everybody can hear me and the music. So people are saying they can hear me, which is cool. Nice. Okay. So if you can use Git, you probably want to use this command, and you can just put that in the in your command line, and it's going to run. You can run this command. Okay. Now that you have that installed, you need to update your path. You need to update your path. So what you can do, you can go to your search bar, enter environment, select environment variables from your account, and under user variables, you can check if there's an entry called path. So if the entry exists, you are going to put the path of Flutter bin. So that means that you are going to go to where you move the folder, Flutter folder. You're going to copy the Flutter bin and just put it in the path, the location, just put it here. So after that, I think it should take effect, close all your console, and then run Flutter Doctor. You should be able to have a Flutter installed. But if you cannot, you can have an alternative, which is using Android Studio. Android Studio is quite huge. So I'm not totally sure you'd want to do that. But if your computer is very, can take that, it would be cool. You can just use Android Studio to install all the dependencies. When I had issues with my MacBook, I use Android Studio to install every dependencies, but you could dump it when you want to start developing. Okay, so click on download Android Studio. Android Studio is an app that allows you to build native Android apps. Okay, so you can just install that. And don't worry, we will not use it after using it to set up our Flutter. We will use Visual Studio instead to set it up. Okay, so once you've installed Android Studio, when you start Android Studio, you are going to go through Android Studio's setup wizard. Okay, so let me open Android Studio here. And Android Studio will install the latest Android SDK. So it will install everything that you'd need. So, all right. Okay, so this is my Android Studio, which I have installed already. So, let me go to plugins. So after installing Android Studio, you can go to plugin, and I accessed plugin right here. So when I click on configure, I saw plugins there. So let me go do that again. So plugins, and it's going to load plugins from the marketplace. So what you need to do is just click search Flutter. Okay. So you just hit the install. There should be a little install button here, and it's going to install it. It's going to install Flutter, and it's going to install Dart. You see, it's quite popular. About 8.43 million people are using this. So I have that installed, and actually it's telling me to update, but not now. So you see, I have Flutter installed. I have that installed on my machine, which is great. Yeah. Now there are once you have that done, for Windows only, you should install Google USB driver, because if your system is not that great, you'd want to consider debugging apps on your device. What it means is that you'd use your Android device to see the apps that you're building. Alternatively, if you have very good system, you can use an Android emulator. So to set up an Android emulator, you will need Android Studio to do that, or not. But an easier way is to use Android Studio, which makes sense. So what you can do is go over to Android Studio, then click on configure, and then there's an AVD manager here, which you are going to click, and it's going to bring up the AVD manager, which is your virtual device manager. What it means is that you are going to have an Android phone emulator right in your computer where you can test your apps. You'll see. Okay, so I have one that I use for testing my Flutter apps, but then you can go over and create one. So creating one will bring you to this page, which of course you can select the type of phone, you can select the type of category of device you want to create, but let's stick to phone. Okay, so I'm using the Pixel 2, and I click on the Pixel 2. You can, depending on the size, you can decide which one you want to use. Click on next. Now it's going to give you some recommended system images. System images are like the operating system itself of Android. So it contains some API levels. You don't need to bother a lot about this, but then you could download one of these, one or two. These are arranged in order of recent Android operating systems. So I use the recent one. So you can easily click on download. It's going to download the system image for you. Now, if you're using a MacBook M1, like I do, you are going to use the other images instead. Other images instead. If you are using an x86, you'd want to use any of this, but this is recommended for your machine. And once you download, because I'm using an M1, so I'm going to click on this. You click on next, Then you can name your device, AVD, Flutter learning. I'm going to name that, which is not ideal, but then for purposes, you can choose the startup orientation, leave it at portrait, enable device frame here. Then we hit the finish button here. And once we click on finish, it's going to create. Okay. Now it has created. To run this, you are going to just click on the play button here, and it's going to run. Let me show you what it's doing. So it's currently running. You see Flutter learning here, and it's loading our operating system for the first time. Oh, yes. Okay. Now we have it started. Looking good. This is like an Android phone, right? Accept and continue. No tax. So we want to test it. It's working great. Flutter.dev. It should load. Okay, that's good. All right. So we have it done. And let me close that. And so when you want to run your apps, you're going to be using the virtual manager to run it, or else you are going to use your phone to do that. Now we have that done. So basically what I just explained is all of this. Okay, so and that's that. So let's say we have this setup. Now we can, next thing is, instead of using Android Studio to set this, we can, to code, we can just use Visual Studio Code. I'm getting the comments that the M1 is a beast. Yay, I told you it's a beast. What is this? Visual Studio Code. Let me just search that. I think they move, yeah, code.visual studio.com. Yes, the M1 is very fast. It's really a beast. Okay, so you come over to visualstudio.com and install and just hit. If you are using a Windows, it's going to automatically show Windows here. So you can just download. I have it installed. So I'm going to just run it. I'm going to run that. Okay, so we have Visual Studio Code, which is great. So let's go over here to the extensions. So you want to have, well, you can, when you are setting up, instead of using the Android Studio, so if you are using the Visual Studio, of course, you want to install that. So it will install all dependencies that you need. And there are other stuff that you can install as well, like Flutter. I think I have it installed as well. So I think that is all. I have this plugin too that I installed, Flutter Color. What it does, it will allow you to show color for any project when you are writing colors. I use that. I'm using Freeze. Well, just a couple of plugins, but the important one is Dart and your Flutter. Okay. Okay, so for people talking about the recording is going to be automatically recorded. So yeah, that's why we are using YouTube. Okay, so now let's say you want to create a new Flutter app, which you are going to create. You are going to do, you're going to click on View, click on Command Palette, and you're going to enter Flutter. Now you have a couple of things here already, which of course you know which one to pick. But then if you want to create a new project, new application project, new module project, new package project, plugin. So let's do a new application project. Now it brings me to the location I want to save that project. So I'm going to go to my documents, dev projects, and select the folder. Tell me what the name, data learning one is what I'm going to call it. Yes. So if you can see, okay, let me see again. Can you hear me now? Somebody's saying they can't hear me. So, okay. How about now? Can you hear me now? Sure, yes. Okay, I think I muted something which I'm not supposed to mute. Yes. Let's see if we can hear this music. Okay, so click on this little button here, and we are going to click on that. So remember the emulator that we created the other time? This is where you can start it from here. And you can click on that. Bingo, it has started. Yes, so if you go over here, you'd already see that you'd already see Flutter Learning. That's the emulator that we created. So let me sort of split my screen so we can have it straight here. Boom. Okay, that's good. Let me go this. Okay, now let's run this up. So to run that, there's a little run and debug button here, like a play button. You click on that. You make sure that you are in a file that ends with .dot, like your main.dot. If I click on a file like what's happening here? Okay. Like my prospect.yaml file. We are going to talk about all this in today or in future. Um, so you need to be in a main.dot file, not really in a dot file, which before you can run this, or else it's not going to run. So let's click on run and debug. It is launching. It's going to try to put that. So while that is running, someone is asking what my VS Code. I don't know. I think someone is also asking, do you need S code to create iOS simulator? Yes, you will not be able to create iOS simulator unless you are on Mac or you are using an online something like to build your app, like Code Magic, for example. You can use an online build uh, to build your app, something like that. So you can go to Code Magic. Let me click this Code Magic.io. I use it to build my app. So you can have Code Magic do a CI/CD, and it has Flutter here. So you can just, if you're pushing your code to GitHub, for example, you can just have this integrated with your GitHub code, and anytime you push to your main branch, you can have it deploy automatically. And then you can have it build iOS app as well. So this is taking a little time, which is quite strange, but anyways, it's going to build. Remember, one of the extensions I have is remove comments. What this does is remove comments in a boilerplate code. So I can have that, go to view command, and just enter remove comments, remove all comments. See, bingo, yay. It removes all the comments here. As you are a newbie, you may want to read what the comments are to quite understand what to say. So while this is building, let's go to Android Studio and try to create a Flutter project there. And you can see how you can create a Flutter project here as well. So click on create new Flutter project. It's going to bring up the, yes. So we are creating a Flutter application, not a plugin or package. We click on next. Somebody is saying, is this recorded, please? Yes, it is. To automatically save on YouTube. So let's call it Flutter Learning. We're going to save in Android Studio projects. So it's quite different from where this is saving to. And then you can set the package name and click on finish. I'm not a fan of Android Studio, so I don't like this. So it's creating our project. So this is as finished building. It took quite some time, but I guess because it's the first time, the next time I build is going to take a really less time. So we have Android Studio already built. Already loading here. So we have you see, Android Studio is just a terrible thing. It's hanging really very poor. Still creating. But then while that one is creating, so we have our Flutter app here. And what you are seeing here is what is displayed. So we can, it's the button, like you see in the demo, I showed you on flutter.dev and it's clicking. Okay, so now our Android Studio project is done, but I'm going to close this. I'm just going to use Visual Studio Code because I don't want this guy to hang my system. It won't, but I don't like working on it. It just does a lot of things underneath that I'm not so cool with. So let's have it closed. I think we have closed that. Yay. Okay. Okay. So we push the button and let's do, remember we have something called live reloading that I mentioned to you. So let's say, let's change this text and see if it's going to change on the app itself. So we are going to say Flutter learning. And we hit on Control S, or you can go File and Save, and it's and it's going to automatically save. But then we've lost connection to our device, so our project has stopped running. So let's run that again. I think when we created the Android Studio project, that happened. So we have that, and if you check, this is Flutter learning, and it's showing here on our app bar. So let's say Flutter learning video 1, and we do a save, which is Control S or Command N S on. So you see performing hot reload, and it's automatically done. So let's do a little tweak to this, and we can say we are saying hello world. So we want to say hello world. We are saying hello world how many times? 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, something like that. Okay. So now this is interesting because now that we have Flutter installed, we can go into the basics of Flutter before we call this this video to an end. Okay, so we have a couple of folders here. We have Windows, we have Mac OS. I'm just saying the Windows anyways. So somebody is asking a question here. How does mine perform a hot reload? So it will perform a hot reload when you it automatically does that for you. When you save, when you save the file. So let me remove the one there and sort of save. You can use a Command S or Control S, and it's going to save. You see, once I save that, it automatically does a hot reload, and that it's automatic, so you don't have to do anything. Right. So we have some folder structures here. So yours might not come with everything, but then the important ones is your library, your lib folder. So this is where you put all your files, all the things that you want to do, things that you're building. This is where you put it in your lib files. Now there's a test folder if you're writing test for your app. We'll talk about that in future. If you are building for the web, if you are building for Windows, you are building for macOS, iOS, Android, say it's truly cross-platform. And there's this build folder. And any app that you are building is going to automatically go to your build folder. And then you have a folder here called app. And there's another folder called output. There are two, so you can see the logs here. You don't want to concern yourself about that. Now you have two folders here. So you have a debug, appdebug.apk. So you can just pick this and install that on your phone, and you have the debug version of what you're building right here. So this debug version is what is installed on this. The one in Flutter APK, to be precise. So if you check our command line here, you will see that you have build app/outputs, which is where we entered here, Flutter APK, and your appdebug.apk. So this is what got installed here. Okay, so let's say you are building an app and your client wants to see something as fast as possible. You can just pick this and upload it on a Google Drive or somewhere and tell them to download it to install it on their app. All right, so that's all about the build folder. And then you have the Android folder and a couple of things that you may tweak in future when you are building some specific things. All right, but for now, what you should be totally interested in is your lib folder, which is your lib folder. This is where you can put all your apps here in. Okay, so on our live audio session, we talked about the okay, before that, so there's another important file that you need to know, which is your postspec.yaml file. This contains the configuration that happens to your app. So you can see right from an overview and already see the name of the app, the description, and the version of your app. So if you have version in your app, you will always see it here. And the environment. So here you can, the SDK version is already specified here. And now you have dependencies, which dependencies are where you tell Flutter, Flutter that this app depends on this stuff. which are like this app depends on these packages. So let's say you are using someone else's package. A package is like a little piece of code that has been wrapped to be dependent on itself, which means that you can put that little piece of code, install the dependency here, and it's going to you can use that in your app. So simple as that. Just like external pieces of code that instead of you rewriting it, someone else has done the work for you. So you put that in your dependencies here, and then there is a dev dependency. Okay, so when we get to the assets, so let's say you want to add assets to your application, you want to show an image, you want to show an SVG, you want to show any kind of assets, you are going to register them here in this assets. So you'd want to comment this one out, something like that. So what about fonts? So let's say you have some custom fonts that you want your app to show. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to see that as well in the future. But for now, this is all you need to do. So let's talk about dependencies. So there's a community where people that build Flutter apps put their packages for other people to use. So there are packages, pieces of code everywhere that can allow you to do stuff faster. So let's give an example. Look at carousel slider. A carousel slider image widget. What does it do? There's a little demo here. So let's say you want to build something like this in your app, an app that slides images. So you load images and user can slide it, something like this. Instead of building this from scratch, somebody has done the heavy lifting for you. All you need to do is just customize this, and it will work for you. Something like that. And so you can come over here and search for packages. Just search for packages, anything at all. Let's look at the most popular packages. These are the popular packages that you know of. So we are going to be using a lot. We are going to be using a couple of packages in feature. So it's important that you know the sites pop.dev. Okay. So let's say you want to install a dependency in your app. There's a install tab here. You can do it by using this command. You just copy that and paste, or they are telling you that you can copy this and put it in your dependencies. So, and there's also a copy icon here, which when you click, it's going to copy that. Now let's put that in our dependency. So it is here. What it means is that once I save this file, it's going to automatically install this from pub.dev, and I will have it installed in my to use for my app. Simple as that. So running pub.dev, that's finished running. See here, bingo. Something like that. Okay, so now that we have that, let me start by introducing you to Flutter. And in any new project that you do, um, it comes with a boilerplate code like this. So what you're going to see first is your main. Remember when you were learning that programming, DART, you so let's go over to that part, dev. Remember, whatever you want to run, you have to put it in your main function. And let's say you run this. So let's say you when you have something like this, if you have to run it in a main method, so this is what is happening. So there's a run app widget that holds all the app together. So it holds all your app together. So that means that your app is going to run in the main method here. So this my app is this class here, which gives the detail about your app, contains the whole instruction about your app. What it means is that there is another widget called the material app, which is a starting point for an Android app. You can also change this to something they call Cupertino, which is the one for iOS. So that means that you're building strictly for iOS. But this comes for Android, which is the default. Now let's say we want to tweak a couple of things. You have the primary swatch, which is colors.blue. So what this means is that you are telling your app that, oh, there's this color scheme that I want to use. I want all my app to look bluish. So let's change this and tell all our app that it has to be green. And when we reload that, performing hot reload, you see, so the color scheme of our app will change, basically. So in fact, you can, this is where you set up all your color schemes for your Flutter app. So we put it on purple because why not? We are purplish. All right. Okay, so then you have the home, which is a property that tells you is the default root of the app. So the first place that your app is going to go is here, my home page, which is this big class here. So when your app loads, it looks at it and says, ah, the color is purple. Oh, let me go home, which is what is that home? Oh, it's this home page, basically like that. So here. So now, why that is done, you understand about this home. Next thing you need to know is what is called a stateful widget and a stateless widget. So if you look at this, it is a stateless widget. What a stateless widget means is that whatever data that you have in a stateless widget, you can't change it unless you rebuild the whole widget. In layman, what it means is that whatever data you have in a widget, if it is stateless, it means that it cannot change. You can't change the state of that data in that widget. So, but when you talk about a stateful widget, it means that you can change a data right in that widget. So now let's talk about this. So what this means is that we have initialized a counter, which is an integer. We call it counter, and we say, oh, it is 0. So, and when you want to create a stateful widget, you are going to, this is exactly how to create that. There's a little shortcut for doing that, which I'm going to show to you. For making it simple, I'm going to delete this. So this one is already complaining that it does not have anything to go back to. You see your ID is going to be red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it home.dart. And I'm going to tell in this home.dart, so to create a stateless widget, what you need to do in your VS Code is to write STL, and it's going to show you Flutter stateless widgets. And you hit enter on your laptop, and it's going to tell you that what is the name of this stateless widget. So we are going to call it home screen. So once we call it the home screen, there's a little problem here. There's a little squiggle lines under. What it's telling us is that I don't know what this means. So you want to click on this light bulb. It's going to show you what to fix. And then we are going to import the library. Import library. We are going to import the material, because it's the material app that we are using. Bingo. Now we have a stateless widget. Now, so we go back to our home, and then we are going to reference, what did we call it? Home screen. We're going to reference it here. We are going to put home screen. Once we already type it, it already tells us that, oh, I have found home screen somewhere. So do you want to import that? We are going to hit enter and put this little stuff there. So we already tell it that, oh, okay, so we have home screen here. But then there's a little squiggle something here that is telling us that it's not like it's an error, but then there's something you can do better here. So what is it telling us? It's saying that prefer const with constant constructors. If we click on this light bulb, it's going to show add const modifier, which we'll add. That is good. So now let's save all our app, save all, and we see how it looks like. It brings you a dark screen. Why? Oh, we broke our app. No, we didn't. What we did is that we have not specified what we want. We only told the app that, okay, so there's a build widget here, which when you load a widget, is going to look for this build widget and run anything that it finds in this build widget. Now, but we have build widget, and we are returning a widget called container. I'm going to still look at all these widgets, because there are a lot of widgets in Flutter that you need to know of. But then, because we are talking about these basics, I want to just show you what Flutter can do. So we are going to name it scaffold. We are going to call it scaffold. Scaffold basically, so what is a scaffold? A scaffold basically gives you a just look at scaffold as a plain sheet of paper where you can just draw something on top. So we are going to be drawing things on our scaffold. So we have a plain sheet of paper that we can draw things on. So, okay, so we have scaffold. Now scaffold has a property called app bar. We are going to put an app bar there. So when I save that, you see we have a little app bar here. You see? Now ABBA has a little property called title. Title is taking in a widget. So let's say title, and we're going to give it a text widget. And we're going to call it the Flutter learning. We're going to do a const. Yes, basically. So now what we have done is we have created a stateless widget. And so let's say we are going to initialize something we call counter and call it 0. And so let's have a body, and in the body we are going to have a center, and then we are going to have a text. So in this text we put our counter there, and counter we are going to name it, put it to .string. Okay, so you can see the 0 here. Now we have counter to be 0. So now let's say we now have a floating action button. I should take a floating action button. We have a floating action button here. So let's see the property. We can have, it can have a child, which we put icons dot add. Okay. Okay. So what we want to do is that when we click on this plus, this 0 should increase. But this is a stateless widget. There's no way we can change the property of this 0, because you can't change data inside of a stateless widget. So what are we going to do? We are going to turn this into a stateful widget. So how to do that? You click on this stateless widget, you hit on the light bulb, I can convert that to stateful widget. So now if we want to increase our counter, there's something called set state. Set state, what it does is that it tells this widget to set the state of whatever is inside of it. So what we are doing now is that we are telling counter that it should increment by 1. So what we are doing right now is that we are telling this floating action button that once we press you, what you are going to do is that you are going to set the property of counter by 1. So anytime we hit on you, just keep pressing and putting in 1, putting 1. So once we save that, now let's try it. Okay. So let's do a refresh, a hot restart. As it restarted, okay, so there's a little bit of a problem. Oh, sorry. So you can't put your counter there. You have to put your counter outside, because you can't put it in your build method. It's going to try to rebuild everything. So once you rebuild everything, you are just telling it to put in 0. So here it's going to change. Yes. So basically, we have just built a, what do you call it? an increment app in Flutter right from scratch without using their boilerplate. So next week we are going to deep dive into Flutter widgets, and we are sort of going to start learning a couple of widgets. And before you know, you become a world-class Flutter developer. So thank you for joining us in this live stream. Somebody is saying I should make a tutorial on GetX. Well, maybe in future, we're going to do that. A lot of people like GetX. Okay, I'll do that in future. So thank you for joining this live stream. If you have any questions, you can always reach me on Twitter, which is twitter.com/olu_stayormi. I'm going to post here. Okay, that's my Twitter. So make sure to like, subscribe to this channel. Remember to hit on the notification button to be able to know when next we go live. It is important to know when next we go live. But usually we go live every Saturday at 2 p.m. GMT +1. Every Saturday, if the Nigerian government does not block internet. So, yes. Okay. Nice having everybody here, and see you next week.